watching the AFC and NFC title game yesterday, and familiar names are going to the Super Bowl this year. You have Patrick Mahomes that was there last year, who won the Super Bowl, arguably the best quarterback in the NFL, and Tom Brady, who has been one of the most overrated quarterbacks in my lifetime, comes from the New England Patriots. I think it's all about scheme and system. And Tom Brady having, to me, not the greatest playoff run to the Super Bowl, but enough to get the team over the hump to the Super Bowl. Are you surprised that Tom Brady is heading to the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I honestly am. I think that is I don't know if it's the Giants fan of me too, that anytime it's Tom Brady, I'm like, nope, that's not it. That's not going to happen. Tom Brady, so I think part of it is being a Giants fan. I am a little bit biased, but I am a little surprised. I think that with the way the Bucs have run their offense throughout the season before Antonio Brown kind of got hot, is there was a lot of, you never really knew who was going to get the ball, who was going to have that many targets. So I thought for a while their scheme was just kind of getting them by. I think towards the end too, their defense, White, some of these guys on their defense are just phenomenal. So I think yesterday really proved to me that they do deserve to be there. I called the Bills Packers, which is probably my worst call this entire season, but I think it's maybe too that I would have loved to see Rodgers in another Super Bowl, and Allen and Stephon Diggs and everyone over there has worked their butt off. So, but it's not entirely surprising. These guys built a 2006 Madden squad. They've got JPP. These are guys that, and I said this last week on one of my podcasts, is the advantage that the Bucs have is that these are veterans that all know how to play in a playoff game. They all have been there. So that learning curve is not there like it is for maybe the Bills. So they've got these guys that they've all been to Super Bowls and playoffs. And so it's a little shocking to me. I think it took them a while to get in the groove. It makes me a little nauseous that it's happening, but I do love Gronk, and he went to University of Arizona, so he went to my alma mater, so I do always root for him. So, and JPP is still a legend to me regardless, but it's a little rough to watch him go to another Super Bowl.
So two parts here with both fantasy and also with the Giants.
Sure.
Two big injuries this season. I had them on the two fantasy teams I did have was Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, and two guys who were relatively healthy throughout their career before that, but obviously big injuries this year cost them their season. So how does that affect the fantasy value of, one, the running back position in general, which a lot of people draft early because there aren't a lot of good ones, and two, just going forward with them, should you be able to trust them? Do you think this is one big injury? You think it'll be harder for them to heal? Is it a one or the other type thing?
Yeah.
What do you think about that for their fantasy value too?
So I'll start with Saquon, and I'll have a video coming out this week about it. I just did a video on him and his injury and updating it. So one thing and I'm also writing an article about what injury prone actually means. And I think that gets very skewed in the fantasy world on Twitter. Just because someone has an injury one season, or they have a concussion one season and they have a high ankle sprain the next, does not mean that they are injury prone. That's not an injury prone player. Okay. So I think that people forget that, and it's easy too, because you think, oh, they're not playing. I even myself, looking over things with CMC, because I've been kind of hard on him. I didn't realize he played 16 games every single season until this season. So I would have had no idea. For some reason in my head, I had that stuck that he's injury prone. He's not injury prone. So with Christian McCaffrey, I said I was going to talk about Saquon, but now I'm talking about Christian McCaffrey. So it's fine. And now I'm leading into Christian McCaffrey. Whatever. I jump around a lot. Just follow along, everyone. But yeah, so Christian McCaffrey, the one thing with him is I do want to get a little bit more clarification on his injuries. So there was 3 guys this year that really annoyed the shit out of me because they didn't really update they weren't really telling us much. It was him, Galladay, and Mixon. So I just want clarification exactly what he's struggling with right now. Is it the injury from week 3? Which injury is plaguing him? So I want a little bit more clarification. But then again, they have plenty of time right now for him to recover. He has plenty of time to rehab. There's no reason that he should be impacted. But you're going to see, especially in dynasty leagues, that people they get nervous about this injury prone. If you have CMC, you don't get rid of him. I think that's crazy to me that people are even considering doing that. And the same thing goes with Saquon. I have a little bit more insight into Saquon's injury. He's another one. He's not injury prone, everyone. He missed 3 games one season, and otherwise, besides for this past season, played a full season. So there's nothing injury prone. It's just that the Giants are very good at using and abusing their players. So he needs help. He can't do it on his own. If they don't find him an RB2 and they don't pay Gallman, he will get hurt again, because that's how it works. It's professional football. The body's not meant to be a professional athlete like that and then working on overload. So with him, his surgery couldn't have gone better. I mean, a lot of people were confused. Why did they wait for 6 weeks before they did the surgery? So they do that when they want to give them a better chance. They'll do like a pre-rehab kind of. But with him, it worked out and it was really successful. His MCL actually healed completely on its own. They were able to salvage the entire meniscus. He didn't have to have any of it removed, which a lot of times you see in players, they do have to remove part of that, and that ends up being what maybe plagues them later on in their career. So, and his surgery went good. He was seen probably a month or 2 ago, already walking without crutches. And Saquon's the type of guy that, I mean, he's got such a great mentality. I don't see this being an issue. But then again, this is going to be another one. You could probably get him a little bit lower, or someone might sell you him for, I don't know why, but it's you could take candy from a baby with these 2 players.
Candy from a baby. Did you hear that, Stephie? Well, if you're taking candy from a baby, you better not be taking that from an offensive lineman. He'll kill you.
Not Saquon with those quads, those thighs. Oh my gosh.
Well, I actually interviewed Saquon Barkley before he was drafted by the New York Giants. Yes, I interviewed him and his father, 2 very big Jet fans.
Really?
Bronx, yep. And his father actually has a tattoo on his forearm of the New York Jets. And I actually asked him the question, if the Jets played the Giants in the Super Bowl, who would you be rooting for? And he made a joke, but I think he was really serious. He said, I hope my son has one of the best Super Bowls that any running back ever has, but I'm picking the Jets.
I love it. Oh my God, that's so funny. That's hilarious. I think he'll have a good year. I think it's going to be a big year for him. Yeah, Shepard, Daniel Jones, and some of those O-linemen. I think that they're in a good position. It's just going to kind of matter what happens this offseason.
Steph, you're looking at the Giants this season. Everybody thinks that this was a successful season, winning 6 or 7 games. If that's successful, I don't know what is. But Joe Judge, a lot of fans loved him. They loved his personality, loved his attack to the press when the press was, their phones were ringing during his press conference, telling them to shut it off and all that other stuff. Are you surprised that fans came to the came to the say of what Joe Judge is? I mean, Joe Judge in the beginning of the season, everybody thought that Joe Judge was going to be a bust. No Giant fans liked the choice of bringing Joe Judge. And then all of a sudden at the end of the season, everybody's talking about how great Joe Judge is and that the Giants found their future Super Bowl championship coach. Are you surprised that the Giant fans completely flipped that?
So I laugh because Giants Nation is one of the most ridiculous crowd of people that I've ever encountered in my entire life. These people are so bipolar over what is – no one knows what they want. It's stressful, and it's hard, too, when you grew up and you're someone like me that saw the early 2000s and you saw both Super Bowls, and I know it's frustrating, and then OBJ and everything happened. So there's a lot of emotion in Giants Nation. They're very passionate people, but – they sometimes have a hard time thinking logically. I was very excited about the Joe Judge hire, but I was more excited when they actually did the Patrick Graham hire. So I always thought that they complement each other very well. They both have that old school fashion, but they have differences that definitely complement each other. So I think that Joe Judge is doing a great job. He said from the beginning that this year was going to be about fixing the culture. And I think something that even if you're not the biggest fan of the Giants, something that the Giants always had before a couple of years ago is they did have a really great culture. I mean, the guys responding to the press, the way that they handle themselves. I mean, there was never really issues. You could Tiki Bar. There's a couple names you can have. Of course, there's always going to be issues, but I think he did did a really good job. I mean, the fact that he got Golden Tate to shut his mouth is a big deal, right? So that's a challenge right there. I mean, I applaud him. I mean, that boy, I don't know what he did to him, but he got in front of the press and apologized. That's crazy. And then you look at guys like Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan wanted to stay. He loves that program. That's a big deal. And then you have Patrick Graham, who actually turned down interviews to be a head coach. So I think that they're doing the right things. It's hard as a Giants fan. I know you want to see progress like overnight, and it's just not the way it's going to run there. And not with a new coaching staff, not with a new quarterback, not with the youngest team in the NFL. You're just not going to get what you want. A 6-10 season from where the Giants were is really impressive, actually. And I think that people forget that all of the losses were essentially by a couple points besides for the 49ers game. Yeah, it's really frustrating. Trust me. I throw things. It's like, I know, I got it. It's very frustrating. But you have to take into account this team has been a mess for years. So you got to give them a little slack. There's some pieces that have to get together. But that defense, too, phenomenal. I mean, where they've come, they were one of the worst defenses in the league. And now we're talking at one point in the season, they were number 9. So I applaud him. I think that he does need to be a little bit more aggressive moving forward with some things, but we'll see.
So what is the offseason outlook, do you think, for the Giants? I mean, what do you think is their biggest positions of need, whether it's free agency or the draft, maybe players they could target? A lot of people think it's a receiver, an offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. One thing I always wanted was a coverage linebacker. I wanted them to draft Isaiah Simmons this year. I wanted them to draft Devin White last year before he went to the Tampa pick before that. So what do you think are the biggest needs for them? And also with these Deshaun Watson trade rumors too, if the Jets or Dolphins do not pull the trigger, what are the chances the Giants maybe go in on that and maybe give up on Daniel Jones?
Yeah. So I'll start with Deshaun Watson. I recently wrote an article on it. And basically my section about the Giants is it's never going to happen. Read it again. So Deshaun Watson is not coming to the Giants. There's a 0% chance. I mean, I think it's obviously Deshaun Watson is a fantastic quarterback. That doesn't mean that I am doubting him in any way. But the problem with this team is there is a lot of problems still that need to be addressed before you can have any quarterback come in and have success. So, I mean, they're also not really in the best money situation. They're not really in a position to be giving away draft picks. So I'm not a fan of him over in the Giants. I don't think it'll happen. I think there's more realistic options. They're going to have to trade him somewhere that they're going to get a quarterback back is basically what's going to happen. And let's face it, Daniel Jones hasn't played well enough that they're going to want Daniel Jones. And that's just me being honest. I like Daniel Jones. I think he is capable and I think he'll have success next year, but no one wants Daniel Jones right now. That's it. It's as easy as that. So I think that Deshaun Watson, I think he will end up somewhere else. I know a lot of people are saying, no, he's just going to stay. I think he has disrupted the culture a little bit too much to keep him there. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting, but I don't think it's going to be on the Giants. I think the Giants right now, like, and part of the reason why they can't take him is they really need a wide receiver 1. It's not even funny anymore. It's like actually very aggravating to the point where if we don't address that, I don't know I can't watch another season of Ingram with a 57.8% passing completion and the most targets on the team, and then Slayton being second with 52.1%. Like, it's got to happen. So I wrote an article, released it today. It's about Shepard and why you shouldn't get rid of him. And he actually plays his best football when he has a wide receiver 1. So I think what you do with the wide receiver 1 is not only do you actually have a playmaker and someone that Daniel Jones can trust and rely on, then you have someone that can take the heat off Shepard and let him cook. So I think that that's a big need. Another one, and I say this a lot and people forget about it, is they need an RB2. So Saquon will get hurt if they do not pay Gallman. So I know Gallman's not getting a lot of word on the street. He's barely on any of the free agent list, but they really do need an RB2. So I don't know how you address that scenario, but it definitely needs to be addressed. And as far as everything else, I mean, they definitely could benefit from an edge rusher. Absolutely. But I don't know that I love the edge rushers in the draft. I would be okay with them trying to find a Band-Aid for that problem, as well as so a CB2 is another one that they definitely do need. But I think we could be okay if everyone's patient. People forget that Xavier McKinney is very versatile. So I think that if you can get him to be able to be in a position where maybe he can help out and they can get Love or someone to, I think that that could be something they could wait on until there's options that are better, because I hope that by the 11th pick, they're almost need to take a wide receiver. But that being said, if Pitts falls, I'm all on board with them taking him. I have no issue with that, because if we're gonna have a tight end scheme like Jason Garrett loves, then you need a tight end that can do something. So draft him. I don't care.